Today on Investigate TV Plus, for parents, raising a child is often met with worry as you try to do everything you can to keep a little life safe from harm. I'm Tisha Powell.
And I'm Lee Zurich, but we found a sinister phenomenon can take that all away.
You get to that first year and you think, okay, we're good. He's good.
We take an in-depth look at the medical anomaly similar to sudden infant death syndrome that strikes at an older age.
I didn't know that you could put an 18-month-old to bed and they could just not wake up.
Plus, paramedics who take on a more personal role when a patient calls 911.
While it may take more time in the now, it's saving just so many other hours of resources.
We examine a model helping patients avoid the emergency room.
Then,
you'll see us when you walk in.
A family reunion more than 11 years in the making.
In the back of our mind, I think there was an inkling, a fragment of hope that someday we would see him again.
In-depth stories that inform and inspire. You're watching Investigate TV Plus.
It's a routine many new parents go through, staying up all night, constantly checking to see their baby is okay.
The sad fact is their anxiety isn't unfounded. Each year, an estimated 3,400 children die of sudden infant death syndrome, or SIDS. It affects newborns up to age 1.
You may have heard of SIDS, but what you may not know is children older than a year can experience a similar fate.
It's called Sudden Unexplained Death in Childhood, or SUDC.
It's more rare than SIDS, but for the parents who've lived through it, not rare enough.
And they're pushing for more research to find out why this happens and how to stop it.
Reporter Kristen Crowley has an in-depth look at SUDC and one family's fight for answers for their son.
Smiling for the camera.
Newborn Charlie made Jenna and Sam Henriksen a family of 4.
Coming home with Charlie, obviously there's a ton of joy there, but it almost reopened the grief.
Are you going to be a big brother?
Grief.
Does mommy have a baby in her belly?
Because only 3 of them are here today.
It would be exciting to see, oh, you look so much like your brother, or, oh, you do that thing that your brother did. But when his brother's not here,
It's a reminder of what you lost.
Yeah, it's excruciating. He was just the happiest boy ever.
Happy and healthy. Hudson was an energetic, typical toddler.
He loved food.
Oh my gosh, the boy could eat. He loved to eat.
And Sam and Jenna were typical first-time parents, a little nervous and extra cautious.
You hear about SIDS, and I was always worried. I was so strict on the safe sleep. He was never in our bed. He was always in a crib. And then you get to that first year and you think, okay, we're good. He's good.
That comforting feeling washed away in the middle of the night, January 8th, 2024.
I didn't know that you could put an 18-month-old to bed and they could just not wake up. I started CPR on him, and then the paramedics got here and they took him. The rest of it's just kind of too hard to get into, honestly.
And when the autopsy did come back, what did it say?
Absolutely, it's perfectly healthy. Perfect brain, perfect heart.
The Henriksens were left with a frustrating explanation. There was no explanation. Hudson's death was undetermined and categorized as SUDC, a sudden unexplained death in childhood.
We've heard of SIDS, of course, but I'd never heard of SUDC. I didn't know this could happen.
I do think that the average American has not heard of SUDC, despite it being the 4th leading cause of death in toddlers.
Dr. Erin Bowen is a pediatrician and vice president of the SUDC Foundation. She says SUDC means there is a full autopsy, but no cause of death, no explanation why they died. It's different than SIDS, sudden infant death syndrome, because it occurs in children 1 year old and older. Right now, there is no known cause and no way to prevent it.
How many families have been affected by this?
So we estimate that approximately 500 children annually are affected by SUDC, but what we recognize is it's likely that that's an underrepresentation.
Underrepresented because there is a lack of knowledge this even exists, not just among parents, but medical professionals, including at one point, Dr. Bowen.
He went down for his nap like he normally would, and it was about an hour into his nap that my husband found him unresponsive.
Her son, 17-month-old Connor, died in 2016. To this day, his cause of death is undetermined.
I thought, how could I as a pediatrician not be able to even know that this could happen?
How do you negotiate raising awareness with this without terrifying parents that, oh, something could happen to your child and there's nothing you can do about it?
That's why I think we really do need to talk about it more, because until we start talking about it more and making it more commonplace to hear about it, we're not going to get funding, we're not going to get answers, and we're not going to start preventing these tragedies.
The SUDC Foundation is pushing for more awareness and research because right now, it has very little of both. For comparison, SIDS is more well-known and more common than SUDC by about 4 to 1, but the funding and research disparity between the two is 500 to 1.
How do you feel about the funding for SUDC, how much it's getting?
Well, it's getting nothing, so I don't feel great about it at all.
Most of the SUDC Foundation's funding comes from private donations, families who've experienced SUDC's horrors firsthand. SUDC is working to get federal funding, which experts say has made an incredible impact in reducing SIDS deaths. In 1990, for every 100,000 babies born, more than 130 died from SIDS. That number has decreased nearly every year since. The National Institutes of Health attributes this to research on safe sleep for infants and a public awareness campaign to alert parents of risk factors.
I think that it's a good lesson to say when we put funding and education in, we can see a difference, because we have seen a difference in that world for sure.
More funding for SUDC could mean more answers on what connects these unexplained deaths in children.
I don't know that it's the same thing that, caused every one of these kids' deaths, but, we don't know that unless we start looking into it.
More data, more research, more funding, so fewer children lose their lives. And fewer parents live in fear.
Everyone says, okay, 1 in 100,000, it's so rare. And it is rare, and the idea is not to scare people here, but it's not rare enough.
There are some factors that connect victims of this phenomenon. Experts say about 95% of SUDC deaths happen in a sleep state. It can happen to any child under 18. Most of the children impacted are boys and toddlers, and some had mild illnesses like a cold or fever. On the days Hudson and Connor died, both of them had a mild temperature. There are studies underway testing the genetics of parents and children connected with SUDC. The Henriksons are part of one of those studies, but say so far researchers have not found any answers in Hudson's genes. Other research has found an increased history of febrile seizures in some of the children. It could explain a portion of the deaths, but not all of them.
The Henriksons haven't stopped fighting for answers.
Since Hudson's death, they've hosted and participated in fundraisers for SUDC research. Altogether, they've raised more than $60,000.
For more information on SUDC and other awareness efforts, head to sudc.org.
Still ahead, suiting up to paint for a purpose. We take you to a place where people create abstract art by blowing off some steam.
Plus, avoidable emergency room visits clog a system for those who need it most.
You'd be stunned what people call for. I've had people call for having a bad dream.
We have an in-depth look at a potential solution rolling out on streets in one major U.S. city. Emergency departments are known to provide critical care for those in immediate need.
Despite that important role, a study in the American Journal of Emergency Medicine found typically 1/3 of emergency room admissions are non-urgent.
In an attempt to address this, the city of Portland, Oregon partnered with a nonprofit to help those who don't necessarily face an emergency when they call 911.
Reporter Ezra Kaplan takes us along for a ride with a specialized service already making a difference.
Looks like it's an overdose. Medical's rolling.
Every time there is a medical emergency in Portland, dispatch has to decide what resources to send out. But not every 911 call requires the same level of response.
You'd be stunned what people call for. I've had people call for having a bad dream. I've had people call for tearing a toenail off. I've had people call because they couldn't sleep. So that's why a program like Chat needs to be created to take that burden off of the 911 system. Like, it doesn't make sense to send a fire engine and an ambulance to someone who had a bad dream.
Instead, Portland Fire and Rescue has a team called Chat, which stands for Community Health Assess and Treat. Deputy Fire Chief Stephanie Sullivan leads the program, which was started in 2021.
So Chat is our low acuity medical response team out of Portland Fire. They're non-sworn employees who go on calls instead of the fire department and sometimes instead of AMR. And what we do is we try to interrupt this cycle where folks are using healthcare and the emergency room system as their primary source of health care delivery.
We got the opportunity to spend the day with Chat 1 and see for ourselves what their work entails. The team received a call to respond to a shelter in Portland's old Greyhound bus station. One of the residents had fallen behind on filling her prescriptions and was struggling with the side effects of missing her medication.
We're here because we're just concerned for you, right? We want you to be happy and healthy. And
I need my meds. That's all I need is my meds.
Right, and we're here to help you navigate that. But the ER's not the best place to navigate that.
She was having a hard time, but another trip to the hospital wasn't the solution.
Okay, well, I'm going to let the ambulance go back in service, and then we're going to kind of make some phone calls right here, okay?
They ended up calling her doctor and getting her prescriptions all sorted out.
We're having one of our EMTs go ahead and pick that up, and then we're going to have it delivered to her here.
In all, the team spent about an hour with the patient.
Let's say this is like a pretty classic Chat call. So while it may take more time in the now, it's saving just so many other hours of resources.
In Oregon, each visit to the emergency room costs an average of $1,600.
It's almost $9 million in healthcare savings just since we've started. And that comes from us treating people in the field. Because we all know when you get a bill to go to the emergency room, it's not cheap.
Chat has an operating budget of $3.4 million, and they are looking to expand. But funding has been a challenge.
Right now, all of our money is just coming from grants and this one-time funding from the city.
So what does that mean for the future of the Chat program?
Well, it means that we can't expand. Right now, we have a very small team. Our Care Oregon grant was reduced, so we went from operating 7 days a week to operating 4 days a week.
And for those on the front lines, there's no shortage of work to be done.
Another part of the Chat team's mission, responding to drug overdose calls.
In addition to the opioid overdose reversal drug Narcan, paramedics can administer Suboxone, a drug that can minimize the effects of opioid withdrawal. The opioid response team then connects the patient to a treatment center and follows up 90 days after the initial 911 call. As emergency departments remain overcrowded and overtaxed, a 2024 study suggests artificial intelligence could one day help prioritize patients who need treatment most urgently.
Using anonymous records of more than 250,000 emergency department visits, researchers at UC San Francisco evaluated how well an AI model was able to extract symptoms from clinical notes to determine their need to be treated. After comparing with the typical human triage process, researchers found the AI was able to identify which patient had the more serious condition 88% of the time, compared to 86% for the physician. Still ahead, a feline with 9 lives
If he had been out there for maybe a day or two more, he was for sure going to die.
is found after 11 years.
I haven't seen him since June of 2013.
We show you the special reunion between a man and his cat.
But first, chaos on the canvas brings clarity to some clients.
We don't live in a world where it's okay to make a mess. And it was okay to make a mess.
We take you to the place offering a creative way to de-stress. Smashing, hitting, and kicking things to blow off steam is all the rage.
Rage rooms, also known as smash or anger rooms, are spaces where people can pay to vent their frustrations and destroy items.
According to the Cleveland Clinic, finding a way to express your anger is healthy, and these rooms can offer one way to release those feelings.
However, experts say it's not going to solve chronic anger problems, and they say working with a therapist on relaxation techniques and cognitive behavioral therapy will be more helpful in the long run.
Still, a woman recognized her own need to release pent-up emotions and instead of destroying, wanted to create.
Reporter Alexandria Adams shows the simple idea taking on meaning for her and her clients.
And then you get to choose your paint colors.
This is Jackie Lorian Long, and this is her space, TheraPaint. But it wasn't always this aesthetically pleasing.
It quickly grew out of the garage.
An idea Jackie says came to her in 2018.
This idea was born from a series of traumatic events and needing a different kind of release.
That release, throwing paint at a wall. Jackie says it was when she started opening her healing space to friends that she knew it was something others needed.
We knew that if we ever found the right space for it, that it would be something that we might be able to bring to, a larger audience.
Just a few years later, she found that space on Music Row. The space offers a Zen room and 4 throwing rooms to release your feelings for 45 minutes.
We invite all of our clients to focus on whatever it is that isn't serving them, whatever energy feels blocked, whatever is causing them any anguish, and to really focus on that feeling and then dip your paintbrush into the paint and just throw it at the wall.
It was the outlet Kristen Ward says she needed just months ago.
In May, I was diagnosed with breast cancer.
Kristen chose her paint, suited up, and threw out all of her feelings before her double mastectomy.
I cried, I laughed. We don't live in a world where it's okay to make a mess. And it was okay to make a mess. It gave me a sense of empowerment, control over something that I have or had no control over.
And there's recently been a milestone in Kristen's life. How are you? How are you doing?
I'm good. Friday is my last radiation treatment. So this week's been emotional for me. But I'm really happy and excited to be done.
Kristen's thrown twice now and says each canvas is full of colors, expressing a multitude of feelings, some of joy and sorrow. But in the end, it comes together to create a unique masterpiece that tells a story.
Seeing people embrace it and love it and also benefit from it, it feels like I'm truly walking in my purpose.
The canvas, the paints, and cups and lids are all composted into the garden where those feelings are released and given a new life in a beautiful way.
Still ahead,
you get past the South Baggage Claim Kiosk.
Proof that persistence pays off.
It's been 11 and a half years.
We take you to the reunion, more than a decade in the making, and explain how his pet ended up hundreds of miles from home.
Here's a fun feline fact. According to a 2024 survey, about 1 in 3 households in the U.S. have a pet cat. We had a cat.
What happened?
She died.
Oh no.
She was 16 though.
16?
Yeah, she had a long, good life.
That's a good life. We can't have a cat.
Are you allergic?
No, Maple, our dog, does not like cats. Like growls, it'd be constant chaos in our house if we had a cat.
Keep the peace.
Yes, Maple over cat every day. We want to talk about one particular cat with an extraordinary tale.
Reporter Joshua Skinner explains how Rutherford returned home after disappearing for more than a decade.
At the world's busiest airport, people move and people wait.
It's been 11 and a half years.
Dave Dexter is waiting for an old friend, Rutherford.
I haven't seen him since June of 2013.
But as people look towards arrivals, Dexter looks the opposite way.
In the back of our mind, I think there was an inkling, a fragment of hope that someday we would see him again.
Finding anyone in this mayhem can be tough.
You'll see us when you walk in.
Especially if, like Dexter, you flew in from Wisconsin for the reunion.
You get past the South Baggage Claim kiosk.
Eventually, they do find each other.
Nice to meet you, too.
But Rutherford is not a man.
Hi, May.
Rutherford in there. Nor a woman.
Hey, man. How's it going?
But a cat.
Rutherford B. Cat, I think, was his official Christian name.
And the Arbeiter family has driven him here.
I can't believe you're here.
From Dillard, Georgia. 11 and a half years and 806 miles from where he disappeared in Oregon, Wisconsin.
He was found on the border of North Carolina in Dillard, Georgia, on the side of the road, laying down on his side, not moving.
Rescued by teenagers and brought back to life by the Arbeiter Veterinary Hospital.
If he had been out there for maybe a day or two more, he was for sure gonna die.
Not only did he survive,
how could this possibly happen?
With a new name,
call him Rutherford B. Strays,
and a much shorter trip back to a warm home.
What else can you do but just feel good for the guy? He made it home 11 years later.
So how did Rutherford go missing in the first place? Dave told us Rutherford is an outdoor cat and he always returned home. One night, he came home with a greasy residue similar to that of a car engine. So Dave's best guess is that Rutherford crawled up underneath a car and accidentally hitched a ride. Dave told us he doesn't believe Rutherford was homeless the entire time because he's too friendly.
All right, that's it for us here on Investigate TV Plus. I'm Lee Zurich.
And I'm T. Chappelle. Thanks for watching.
On the next Investigate TV Plus,
vehicles are getting bigger.
Experts warn larger vehicles have become increasingly deadly for pedestrians.
Are we overdue in having conversations about vehicle size?
Oh, absolutely.
We uncover how shape and design can impact safety.